What's the scope of your operation right now? I mean, in terms of just, I know you have a number of projects in the works, but in terms of actually growing food, we're talking Inglewood, we're talking the south side of Chicago, we're talking neighborhoods and communities that we often hear referred to as urban food deserts. And, there's just a lack of ability, wherewithal, the means to get good food in a lot of communities here in Chicago. I first was aware of that kind of a situation in my own life when I would spend time up on the Menominee Reservation up north. And it occurred to me while I'd spend time there that besides coffee and bread in everyone's house, there just was no green food. There was no really healthy food, and you'd have to go off the reservation to get to a supermarket. And it turns out we have that similar situation in cities, particularly here in Chicago. So talk about that concept of the urban food desert, and then how your organization, the Center for Urban Transformation, has worked to combat that, and what kind of things you grow, where you do it, how big an operation is, who's involved.
Well, urban agriculture, quite frankly, Mike, is more talk and more pilot at this point than it is a real viable sector. But that said, we're going to be working real closely over the next few months and years probably with Alderman Lyle, Alderman of the 6th Ward. Inglewood community, which includes Inglewood and West Inglewood, but colloquially we call it Inglewood, has 6 aldermen that have a piece of the community. So she has the southeast corner of Inglewood, and so we have 2 sites that'll be going up over the next few months. One is 71st and Wentworth, and the other one is 72nd and Yale. So both sites are a little under an acre, and so we hope to do year-round agriculture on those sites. But also related to what you were saying, one of the other projects that we're really interested in doing, and we'll be working with her, and will probably even be combined with the site at 71st in Wentworth, is in fact what we call community-scale grocery stores. And so with respect to that, what we see is that you can do ventures that are 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 square feet. You can build out new. We'll probably be looking at prefab buildings, that sort of thing, and also renovation. But the focus for those particular sites will be fresh food, fresh produce. And in so-called food deserts, there are small grocery stores that exist. The quality's not good necessarily. Some do better than others. And there's a lot of stuff that's, not necessarily real healthy for you. And of course, a lot of people say, well, you need grocery stores in these communities. Well, grocery stores are going to happen one way or the other, but they're not necessarily the paragons of health either. So, and I guess most people know, stay out of the center aisles and shop the outer aisles for produce or whatever the case may be. So what we're saying with the community scale grocery store concept is, let's just strip the mill aisle out anyway. How many kinds of cornflakes do you need? Let's come up with a brand, if you will, for cornflakes. And, just like Trader Joe's, for example, right? I mean, you go there and you get Trader Joe's cornflakes or whatever the case may be. You don't need 10 different kinds of cornflakes. And they've got plenty of fresh, good food for folks as well. So we're looking at doing similar kind of things, but also the notion of a grocery store in terms of community scale concept that we're looking at is really a misnomer, because we're looking at them really as wellness centers where people can also come and learn how to cook, take nutrition classes. If people have different kind of diseases, heart disease, diabetes, whatever the case may be, they'll have opportunities to learn how to manage their illnesses. And then also a place to shop to buy the goods that they need to live a healthier lifestyle. So that's the kind of stuff that's really in the works. And we have a good team of people that we work with, from Martha Boyd with Angelic Organics Learning Center, Shed Studio, our architects, Mike Newman and Rashmi Ramaswamy, and just a bunch of other folks that have come together to make this thing work. Warren King with Wellspring, just a wealth of people who are coming together to help us pull this stuff together.
So right now, you would say that a lot of what's happening, besides the gardens that you have, is ideas for a better world, better communities, and the stuff is in the works.
Stuff is in the works. You have right there by you, for example, the report that was created out of the General Assembly's HB 3990, which is the local foods, farm, and job report. Illinois needs to create about 5,000 new farmers, and the reason for that is that in Chicago and in other places in the state, we import about 98% of our food. And a lot of the stuff that's even in the city that's it's not even necessarily grown in Illinois. Illinois agriculture is principally corn and soybeans, so the effort at hand, and I'm on the Governor's Council for Local Foods, Farms, and Jobs. So the idea at this point is to create those new farmers, urban and rural, mostly small and medium size. And the idea is to create jobs, of course, but also to stop exporting Illinois dollars to California and Peru and Chile and all the other places our food is imported from. So we're excited about that work as well, and how that work connects to retail, if you will. So even with the community scale grocery stores, as time goes on, we hope to source more and more stuff from local and regional sources.
We'll talk a little bit more about the governor's report, but I want to kind of go back to what the growing that's going on in the city, both what you do and what other organizations are doing. You're talking about you have one of your spaces down on the south side in Inglewood is about an acre.
Right.
What do you produce? What do you turn out? When do you start it? What do you got in terms of greenhouses? How many people are involved in tending to these gardens? What are they tending to? Are we growing lettuce? Are we growing spinach? Are we growing greens? Are we growing cabbage, peppers, tomatoes? You as someone who's kind of inspirational and getting others involved, what do you think the best crops to grow are? I'm just going to share that, as you know, we have a fledgling rooftop garden ourselves, which consists of boxes, buckets, and wading pools. And it only can make a dent in what we use in the restaurant, but it is, as we sort of talked about earlier, a little bit symbolic. It's kind of to encourage to go forward. We did find that we could turn out lots of green onions in a hurry. We can produce a good amount of lettuce. Getting the tomatoes all working in these buckets was a little bit slower. So in my mind, it's like we have to plan what we can grow that would certainly make the biggest impact on quantity and saving us money from other places. That's also in tune with the growing season, the facilities we have. Can you address some of that just in general, like off of your own work?
Well, yeah, from working with Growing Home, their site now, I just talked to their farm manager, and he's got seed started now with arugula, spinach, lettuce, some of those sorts of greens. Of course, they're cool weather crops. And as the seasons move forward, of course, beds are taken out and new crops are brought into production, like you mentioned, Mike, peppers and tomatoes and those sorts of things. So it is a real seasonal approach to this stuff. And like I said, Growing Home site and the sites that will be replicated throughout the city as time moves on will be year-round sites, so there will be a real seasonal approach. So over the winter, of course, they had lettuces and spinach and that sort of thing, primarily. And as things move forward, too, of course, there'll be some attempts to kind of trick Mother Nature a little bit and use a little bit extra lighting and keep things warm. One of the things we're looking at, for example, is a concept where you'd have a bakery that, of course, during the winter you would capture the waste heat and use that to heat the hoop houses, but also adding a few more hours of artificial light and that sort of thing would allow you to grow tomatoes and that sort of stuff. And we would look for folks like Heartland Cafe that use tomatoes and that sort of thing year round as principal customers for that sort of thing as well.
Bring it on. We could use all you could bring in here.